So backing out would be in part of Iran's uh, Iran's side, not Israel's side, and that means. But how do the the external powers, meaning the West, but also specifically the United States, but on the other hand, Russia also has ties with Iran's regime. So it's just for me listening to you firsthand is just surprising to hear because, like you say, they were great at bluffing. I fell under that bluff. I thought they were very very strong, but how would this influence or affect Russia's also influence in the region with Iran? I think also Russia I mean, they have their own war right now too, but they were also, and correct me if I'm wrong, they were also feeding Iran's regime with military capabilities, arms, missiles. So was this all just a stunt? Was this all just, try to show force through talk? But actually, if we were into an all-out war, quote-unquote, like you say, an all-out war between Israel and Iran would be taking into consideration the proxies because they're not neighbors, but it would be missiles, it would be air force. So it would, from the impression I'm getting is Israel, if it does decide to go and really create a serious offensive, striking the four pillars that you just mentioned, it seems as though the regime would collapse very rapidly. And so what would happen here also with Russia and the United States, all of this equation?
I think the regime is counting on winning the war of attrition because Israel, it's a smaller country. It has a very developed economy, but its developed economy depends on having security, having ties with the rest of the world. So I think the regime in Iran counts on, this war of attrition that Israelis get tired, that the Americans get tired, because Israel, if it wants to get into a serious offensive, it needs over time U.S. support, U.S. military support, not military intervention, but, getting the weapons that it needs. So I think that's what the regime counts on. But let me talk about it from U.S. perspective, how I think U.S. should see. So U.S. is the global hegemon, global superpower. As a global hegemon, what you want to do, the first task that you need to do is to make sure that unfriendly regional hegemon do not rise. Because if these unfriendly regional hegemons rise, they can replace you. So we now have in 3 areas of the world, 3 unfriendly regional hegemons rising: China, Russia, Iran. And even worse than that, they are in an axis. A lot of people talking like this is a very uncomfortable axis, and they are right. But if you look at the World War II, the Second World War, that was also very uncomfortable axis. Like Japan had a truce with the Soviet Union, while Germany and Soviet Union were at war with each other. Same thing with Germany and Italy. They had a lot of tensions together. So we are seeing a global anti-American axis rising. And the weakest one here is the regime in Iran. Its economy is very fragile. Its security and intelligence establishment has been deeply penetrated by Israel. Its proxies have been shattered. It's in war with its own people over the last 6 years. There have been 3 really widespread uprising protests, each time protests in more than 150 cities. So this is a regime that's the weakest link here. And you have an ally here in Israel. You have your partners like Saudi Arabia, UAE. They all have an unfriendly relation with Iran. They're afraid of the regime, but they don't like it. So, and I think this is an opportunity for the United States to say, okay, I'm going to solve this problem in the Middle East. And if I solve this problem in the Middle East, if you have the regime in Iran gone, replace it with a normal regime, then you can get this is where China gets 50% of its oil.
Mm.
So then you have Iran, Israel, Saudi Arabia. All of them will be pro-US. So you secure Middle East. A lot of your troops, you can move them from that region either to Eastern Europe or to East Asia, which is the most important area for you. So that's, I think, from the US perspective, should be no-brainer, especially because we are talking. There is a lot of talk about pivot to Asia, but when you have this global access, if you get out of Middle East, so what happens? It's that Iran, China, and Russia will dominate Middle East. We see that already in the southern part of the Persian Gulf, like Saudi Arabia, UAE. They are having this very dubious relationship with all sides now. They are hedging, all because they are quite afraid of the regime in Iran. And I think this is really an opportunity for the United States to have a policy of regime change again. I'm not talking about an invasion of Iran by the United States. I'm talking about having solving the nuclear program, delaying it, and then you have a policy of max pressure, max support to bring down the regime. So then you can focus on the two other unfriendly hegemons that you have, which are Russia and China.
I think it's